The Arizona Cardinals offense is looking to get back on track, but is this a matchup nightmare with the Minnesota Vikings at home at 9-2? Bo Brock, another locked on crossover with my old friend Luke Braun. Locked on Vikings. Luke, how we doing, my man?
Hey, Bo. Ben, I did my real crossover with your old buddy Clancy earlier in the week.
I know. I've been chatting with Clancy, too. It's been nice kind of getting to know the old gang again and talk some ball. And, you know, when I start to look at this game, the Arizona Cardinals coming off a rough performance offensively, hell out of the end zone, 16-6 to the Seattle Seahawks. And I look at the upcoming matchup on the road against this Vikings defense, Brian Flores coaching them up real nice. How do you see it playing up? Do you think that, Caleb Williams had a pretty nice performance. Can Kyler Murray and his squad get back in track, or how can they combat this?
So the answer is in 2 minute and kind of only in 2 minute. If you look at the way that the splits of the Vikings have gone, which still statistically, even after games that I think are perceived to be more productive than they really are, because a lot of the production that the Vikings have given up, an inordinate amount, has come in situational football. Ends of halves, and it's a big issue. And then sometimes it's end of game, down 2 scores, and you let them score, but it takes too long, and they play really passive, drop 8, and that's not really their identity, but you get them on that when they're doing that. So they might have a drop 8 issue, but they're only going to do that if they're up 3 scores in the fourth quarter, and I think really the key to attacking the Flores defense, you have to have your blitz counters ready. You have to know what you're doing on the blitz. Are you going hot read? Are you going, max protect? Are you going to check into something at the line if you see a blitz coming? What is it? What are we confident in it? Can we execute it? And you have to have a middle of field plan, whether that's dagger, whether that's over the ball, running back, catch and run, whatever it is. Yeah. You got to be able to attack split safeties, and you got to be able to counter the blitz. You can do those 2 things and execute them consistently, and not just rely on hero ball playmaking, which got Caleb Williams in a lot of trouble in the end of that game. Then you kind of have the keys to the Flores defense, and really, I think only consistently the Lions and Rams have been able to do that, and those are the 2 teams that got wins against the Vikings.
Now, is that a product of the Lions have a stout running game, and sometimes being able to run the football can kind of combat that disguise packages and not having to really truly have to worry about picking up every single blitz package?
That's not where the Lions beat them. They did run the ball well, and they run the ball well on everybody. The Vikings do a lot of 2 high safeties. Mm-hmm. A lot of quarters, a lot of cover 2, and you can run against those looks. 2 safeties out of the box, you can run. And so sometimes they just found the gap, right? But I think more of it was that the Lions found a way to push the ball down the field, but without compromising time to throw. I would not be surprised to learn that their Vikings game was their quickest time to throw game of the year. Jared Goff, drop back, ball out, quick read, first read, second read, efficient. And I think he did a really good job of keeping every single bit of the process really tight. So everything was really fast. So even unblocked players couldn't get home sometimes. And then you find the holes over the middle in 6 and 5 man coverages. You got to be able to do that. I think the Vikings against these sort of runaround QBs like Kyler have been able to either contain them, or they just have the athletes to chase these guys down. Like Andrew Van Ginkel and Jonathan Grenard have been able to chase somebody like Caleb Williams down and actually turn that into a sack. Or at least compress it enough where it has to be a throwaway, and you can't just kind of have infinite time in the pocket because nobody can chase you. And that's something that they haven't had yet. I think this is very much true Flores instead of Flores working with 4-3 personnel like it was last year.
Yeah, I'm envisioning Trey McBride continuing his strong run this season and kind of being the man again, coming off 133 yards last week against the Seahawks, and still the people's want for Marvin Harrison Jr. big time game probably has to be put on the back burner. I don't know if this is conducive to this.
I don't know if that's the move.
Yeah,
I think if Marvin Harrison can catch balls over the middle, have him catch balls over the middle.
Yeah,
and the Vikings back off in quarters a lot. You can run an out underneath that. I think there's absolutely a place. The Vikings, at least from a significant to some perspective, have given up a lot of wide receiver overs this year. You can get yards. And really the philosophy here is you will get chunk plays against this defense. You can have them. You'll catch us in a blitz. You'll get exactly the right look. You get a 25-yard strike over the middle. They will give up a few of those, but then later in that drive, they get a sack that puts you behind the chains and you punt anyways. Or they get enough turnovers in the game that over the course of the entire game, those explosives won't be decisive because the Vikings are creating enough havoc on their own. And it's been dreadfully hard to run on them. So you're behind the chains. You kind of have to get that explosive, and too many teams just haven't been able to get enough of them.
Now, is the top run defense thing, is that a product of just really good run defense creating negative plays, or is it also that they're playing with a lot of leads?
I think they've got the right fronts right now. They use a lot of 5-man surfaces. So they do 3-4 and 4-3 depending on the personnel packages. But if they've had a lot of these kind of Shanahan-y run games, including Shanahan himself with a million tight ends, 13 personnel and all that. And they'll string out a lot of players on the line of scrimmage, break up the double teams that these teams want. And then you can kind of have guys just win their rep one-on-one. And that's been really successful. Ivan Pace has been a big part of that. He's out now. He's on IR. But he's been kind of shooting gaps. Blake Cashman's been huge for that as well. Blake Cashman's been an incredibly important part of this defense. They missed him really bad when he was out. He's been back for a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
But really, you get enough people on that line of scrimmage, and all these double teams turn into, oh, God, we kind of each got to take a guy. It gets a lot harder to run the way that a lot of these teams want to. I don't know what you guys are doing over there or what kind of scheme it is. Yeah. Probably a little read option with Kyler, but which is different. They did a great job of that against Tennessee in their read option. So they've been really disciplined, a lot of veterans, but a lot of it is just, a lot of dudes stacked across the line of scrimmage. It's hard to run on that.
Let's look at the offensive side of the football. What's impressed you the most as far as Sam Darnold holding off maybe some of his old habits? Like where's he been consistent where you didn't think he would be consistent? It's
timing. When he's in rhythm, it's just like strike after strike after strike after strike. I'm telling you, Sam Darnold's been playing like an upper tier quarterback in the league, and I genuinely think he would be in all of the big conversations. Who are the top 5 guys in the league? Who's offensive guy of the year? He would be in all these conversations if he didn't have that wrong name on the back of his jersey. That reputation, I think, for people who haven't watched every Vikings game is still sort of the only thing holding him back. But he is playing lights out football. Now, he's still Mr. Turnover sometimes. He's had a few 3 interception games this year. And being safe with the football is kind of which Sam Darnold are you going to get? The one that's really in rhythm, safe, really like in structure, find the play, make a nice dart of a throw. Yeah. He's been intensely accurate. Oh my God, he's been throwing just absolute strikes. But then sometimes you got to heat check a little bit, and then he'll throw one he totally shouldn't throw and get an interception. And it's always a factor of him seeing a window and thinking, oh, I can get that, and just too much dip on his chip, and then he throws it. But if you can get those, and this offense has been turnover prone beyond Darnold. So I've told everybody, you'll get a couple turnovers, you can set your watch by it. It's just going to happen. And they've just kind of overcome in one anyways.
Yeah.
But like that just will happen, and that's the way to beat them is take advantage of those turnovers, take advantage of the explosives that you get on the other side of the ball. You will get those opportunities, but you have to be able to convert them into points. But yeah, for Darnold, it's been really lights out veteran quarterbacking. I think if you took him and the guy in Detroit and wife swapped it and put a mask on each of them so you didn't know,
right?
They're playing pretty similar football.
Like Masked Singer style. Yeah. At the end of the day, you just see it's Sam Darnold, and you're like, wow.
Yeah, it's like responsible veteran, but still explosive quarterbacking. And he hunts chunks, man. Oh my God, he's aggressive, and it works out, So they'll generate so many explosives on the other side of the ball. It kind of nulls the few that you can get on Flores.
Yeah. What do you think is, as far as we'll end it as far as this goes, would be the ideal scenario that would play into the Cardinals' hands? I mean, defensively, in cover 3, the bulk of the time, trying to do a lot of, 4-man rush, not so much blitzing. We've seen a lot of Budda Baker, the last couple of weeks, but that's fairly new to the defensive scheme. What's the ideal scenario for the Cardinals to play this thing tight, maybe steal one on Sunday?
If you're doing 4-man rush, you probably want to beat up the interior. They have Dalton Reisner right now at right guard. He started the year as the backup, and they're not kind of switching, trying to figure out who's best. Garrett Bradbury, smaller center. Blake Brandel, first year starting. He was a 4-year backup. Now he's starting. Those guys have all been very hit or miss. So maybe you get some interior lineman goes and has the game of his life. We gave Grover Stewart, player of the week looks when we played the Colts. So that's part of it. And then again, it's opportunistic with the turnovers.
Yeah.
And then when you get those turnovers, you have to take advantage of those short fields. Like the explosive chunk you get on the other side of the ball kind of has to take advantage of the opportunity that you get from the turnover. But hit a whole bunch of strikes over the middle of the field. The Vikings fumble one in the end zone, in the red zone. That Sam Darnold throws a dumbass interception.
Right.
Those things will all sort of stack up, and then that's how the Cardinals can get this. And it's a matter of, and I'm sure a lot of Kyler Murray heroics have to sort of get into that as well. If you saw the way that the Bears game ended, that kind of last couple minutes of regulation there, a lot of that was Caleb Williams' hero ball. Juke the unblocked guy, and now they've lost contain, and then you do it, right? They're really good at having a contain guy, but if that guy misses the tackle, then you can get out. Now suddenly you get all this stuff. So those, I would say, are the best opportunities.
Yeah. Darius Robinson could be the guy. Could be making his debut, 27th overall pick up front for the Cardinals defensive line rotation. Be fun to kind of see if maybe he can have a coming out party as early as his regular season debut. Locked on Vikings at Luke Braun NFL. Luke, always great to get your insight, man. Thank you so much.
Great to talk to you, Bo.